Hey guys, Ramsey here. Welcome to another video. Today, we've got another early impression of a fragrance from a new house from a young man whose name is Anton. The house's name is Aton, and this is his logo right here. If you've been following my channel, you know I did a quick unboxing. He sent me these. I just got them this weekend. And last night I had a chance to wear this to bed, and now I'm wearing it as my scent of the day. And if you know anything about Aton fragrances, he worked on a composition with his older stepbrother, Russian Adam, who is, of course, claimed to fame by the amazing brand Areej le Doré. And so he has a hell of a tutor. He has an amazing mentor in the fragrance world, someone that can show him the ropes, and I think he has a very bright future ahead of him. So today we're going to talk about a fragrance called Roxbury. And this is the one I instantly wanted to try. Roxberry is his most expensive composition. It's basically $250 for, how big are these bottles? 53 mils, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. I think they're 53 mils, $250. So not cheap, but this particular fragrance is his most expensive. The other two are $190 for 53 mils. And we're going to talk about why I like this fragrance so much. It has a story behind it, a very amazing story, actually. But before we go into that, I have to rant. And this is probably the only bad thing I'll say about this fragrance today, because I love the fragrance. I love the juice. But these sample sprayers, I absolutely despise. I'm going to go on a sample spray rant again. I might do this every video. But this sample, I tried to wear it today. And when you press it, it literally just squirts juice out the side, you know, down here. It doesn't even make it to the sprayer. Like, to get it on my hand, I had to, like, you know, let the juice just flow out of the side of the sample. Just complete shite sample sprayer. And whenever you own a brand, and whenever you have a business, or whenever you have a product and people from the public are going to interact with your product, the very first thing they see, number one, is the marketing, which I really like the little bag that he's created. And number two is the quality of the actual product. Even little samplers, you know, this is a 2 mil sample. And so even a little sample that someone is going to hold and use speaks about your brand. Let me show you a proper sample. This is from the House of Amouage. All right, now they're a much bigger house. Obviously, this young man's just up and coming. And again, I think he has a bright future, but look, the sample has a cap. It has a sprayer that is not going to leak when you spray, and has a very decent atomizer on it. And, you know, I absolutely adore brands that take the time to put a proper sample sprayer to work, because, you know, this is going to be representative of the brand. That's the way that I view this. And so, it's the only bad thing I'm going to say about this brand so far is I hate these little samples. I just despise them. I mentioned yesterday I tried a Bleu de Chanel Parfum sample that was a little like paper thing that you squeezed and it came out. It was absolutely horrendous. This is not that bad because they give you more juice, but I am not a fan of these particular samples. And I know it costs more, but once Anton hopefully starts making more money in this and starts getting more sales, hopefully he can take that profit, put it back into the business, and get some real, you know, samples. So anyways, that's my little rant. Let's talk about the fragrance. So let me read you the breakdown of the fragrance, all right? And then we're going to kind of talk about what makes this fragrance special and why I really love it. So the first thing is the breakdown on the Aton Perfumes website. So again, the young man's name is Anton, but he's Russian Adam's stepbrother. But the brand, he calls it Aton, A-T-O-N. So his website is atonperfumes.com. And it says that Roxbury, which is the name, by the way, in case I didn't mention it, and you can kind of see how it's kind of all smeared. It's because it got juice all over it when I tried to spray. Roxbury is heavy, dark, sophisticated scent, created to uplift your spirit and take you in the mature world of fragrance. The main players in this fragrance are Indian patchouli, oud, tobacco, and some spices. Now, I don't think there's any oud in this fragrance, but it does kind of give you an oud accord. So I don't know if I like saying that the main players are oud when I don't think there's any oud in the fragrance, but I understand what he's saying. There is an oud accord, okay? Tobacco starts to appear at the background with some bold and elegant patchouli covered in oak moss and oud, giving us a very vintage character style. Going further, we enjoy the spices with some impressionistic sweetness from labdanum, vanilla, and geranium. On the dry down, fragrance becomes smooth and glowing with aiming you the last kiss you will never forget. Okay. Quantity 53 mil. Yes, 53 mil for 250 US dollars. It says, in Roxbury, we used vintage charactered patchouli that was aged in a traditional camel leather bottle for 24 years. So, the leather bottle where the patchouli was stored has the property of absorbing moisture and preserving oil in the best way. Okay, so before I continue reading, let's talk about this patchouli. This patchouli was actually a gift from Russian Atom to his stepbrother Anton, and I have the actual highly aged patchouli right here. It was part of the 50 ingredient sample set that Russian Atom gifted to me. If you haven't watched that video, I implore you to go watch it. I've done multiple videos on it. The one that probably is the most in-depth is Russian Atom and I. Go watch our second interview together. We went through each and every individual ingredient together and his thoughts on it. And this patchouli really stood out to me. He sent me simple stuff like patchouli tincture, so you can smell what the actual patchouli plant, just tinctured in perfumers alcohol, smells like. And then some of the different distillation tricks that were done. One of them was like smoky patchouli, where they kind of burnt the patchouli in a way to give this barbecued, you know, almost like burnt meat, barbecue, smoky type accord to the patchouli. There was one in there called aged patchouli, which is usually from like 5 to 10 years. Highly aged patchouli is 20 years plus. This is 24-year-old patchouli, basically. And it really is a very deep, sensual patchouli. Now, I love patchouli. If you know anything about my fragrance taste, patchouli is one of my favorite ingredients. I've talked about my love for fragrances like Pavarotti, for example. I don't have the bottle to show you, but Pavarotti from 1994, one of my favorite, I would say, celebrity scents of all time. Probably the best celebrity scent of all time. And there's this Krizia Moods Uomo, which is one of the most masculine patchoulis. There's tons of oak moss in here. Oh, it's just so good with the patchouli. I mean, if you like 80s fragrances and you like patchouli, Moods Uomo is, I mean, one of the best. And then, of course, if you want something maybe a little bit more modern, you could go for L'Instant de Guerlain, which really took the heritage, the patchouli that you smell in heritage, which was my scent of the day, and they take it to the next level in L'Instant de Guerlain. Oh, beautiful chocolatey cacao, you know, tea, just beautiful fragrance. Lovely. One of the best designer scents of all time. And then we've got Real Patchouli by the House of Bois 1920. Make sure you get the eau de toilette. Don't get the modern eau de parfum. That's word on the street. So the vintage eau de toilette is what you want. This one's so good. Chocolatey, deep, resinous patchouli, labdanum, you know, amber. It's just beautiful. One of the most underrated patchouli scents. And if you stick with designer, you could go with something like Amen. But again, make sure you get the vintage Thierry Mugler version, the new version that says Mugler on it. L'Oreal has just completely butchered. It doesn't last very long. It's not what Amen should be. You know, Amen should be bold, rough, in your face. There's so much going on in Amen. It's one of the only gourmands that... only gourmands that really, you know, clicks with me. And it's done beautifully. It's you know, Jacques Huclier's masterpiece. And then Psychedelique, if you want a niche patchouli. Psychedelique is amazing. I don't think it's too sweet. There is some sweetness to it, but I think it's that resinous, chocolatey, chocolate cake patchouli, if you will. I just absolutely love this stuff, and I think the value for money on these Javoy fragrances are through the roof. I mean, you know, personally, I think you get a big bang for your buck with Javoy fragrances. Everything from the bottle, the heavy cap, the, you know, the time spent on the fragrances. And I've got, I think I've got 6 bottles, 5 or 6 bottles of Javoy fragrances. It's a house that I really rate. But most of the stuff I really rate is the old stuff, like L'Enfant Terrible, that's discontinued, I think. Stuff like that, the old stuff. The new stuff they're coming out with is, I'm not the biggest fan of. But Psychedelique, if you like niche patchoulis, you know, these two, Bois 1920, Real Patchouli, and Psychedelique. And the reason I'm mentioning these is, as you can see, I'm a big patchouli lover. I love patchouli. It's one of my favorite notes. And, you know, anytime I smell patchouli that's done properly in a composition, it just really appeals to me. And, you know, whenever we were talking about this highly aged patchouli on stream, Russian Adam mentioned that he thinks that this is his favorite patchouli he's ever smelled. And we had a bunch of different patchoulis laid out. Again, we went through each one and we talked about kind of the nuances of them. And he mentioned something very interesting on that stream. If you go back and watch it again, it's the second interview that me and him did. It's about 4 hours long. There's a ton of material on there. Put it on, you know, 1.5 or 1.75 times speed and just let it go. You'll get so much information out of it. But he mentioned that this patchouli, because of the amount of time that it's aged, gives off this Cambodian oud-like vibe, okay? And what's funny is whenever I smelled his different patchoulis, one of the patchoulis from the list that he sent me was a patchouli called Patchouli by Russian Adam. And he used some of his distilling techniques to basically create this patchouli that was distilled in a certain way where it gave off this different smell. So he on purpose distilled it one way, kind of using the tricks of the trade, if you will, right? And he came out with something that I thought smelled like oud. I said, wow, this patchouli smells like oud. And we kind of had a laugh about it because it's patchouli. There is no oud in it, but just by the way that he distilled it, it gave off this, you know, deep, dark, woody vibe, right? And what's interesting about this patchouli is none of that happened. This is just a patchouli that was aged for 24 years. So he posed the question on the stream, how is it that if you take a patchouli, that's just a patchouli, and you put it away, in this case they said it was stored in a traditional camel leather bottle, okay? How is it that 24 years later it comes out and it smells completely different, right? You get these leathery touches, probably from the camel leather is my guess, but you also get this dark fruit-like accord. So imagine like a dark berries, you know, like a blackberry, dark berry accord with Cambodian oud and leathery notes and almost this boozy quality to it. There's no booze. There's no booze in this composition. There's no rum or anything like that from my understanding. And there's no oud. But what there is there's one of the most interesting takes on a material, just a natural material you'll ever smell, because this in and of itself could be a composition. There's another just out and out patchouli. If you just like straight out and out patchouli fragrances, this is one that I would recommend, right? This is just a straight out and out patchouli. It's called Patchouli Antique. And I think this is a vintage bottle. I don't know what the new stuff looks like. You can almost see the note listing right there. There's only 3 notes listed here. And it is alcohol, parfum. That's it. And so I bring that up because if you just like a patchouli-centered fragrance, right? This Roxberry is one to get your nose on because it's something special because it uses this highly aged patchouli. And as much as I love many of these patchoulis, you can almost smell the similarity, almost like all of the big French houses and stuff like that, niche houses, are using just similar patchouli from Indonesia. You know, they're not taking the steps that Russian Adam took when he distilled his product. So with this one, I don't know where it came from, but I know he was mentioning on the Patchouli by Russian Adam, he had a particular picking style. So when they would pick the patchouli, they would only do this, or they would only do that. And they had almost like this test. They had this, you know, this segment that they wanted to fulfill when they were creating, when they were from the picking to the plants to the distilling. They took certain precautions to make sure that it was done properly. And so with this one, you're going to smell a patchouli that you're not going to smell in any of just these normal designer patchoulis you're going to be able to buy. This is something unique and something different, and that makes it special to me. On the other side of the coin, yes, there is some tobacco. Yes, there's some amber. I detect some woody nuances. I don't know what the woodiness is from, whether it's cedar or whatever this woody base it feels like it's kind of sitting on. I don't think it's oud, because later on in the composition he says, this highly matured, exceptional, and rare type of patchouli contributed to a bottomless depth and unmatchable complexity of the composition. With its help, dark, mysterious notes of vintage oud was skillfully created without actual use of oud. Vintage patchouli graciously shines through the entire lifespan of the perfume, and it does. The patchouli kind of remains through this is definitely a patchouli-centered fragrance. So that's the good. The good is you're going to smell what natural, real ingredients smell like. You're going to smell a beautiful tobacco note. And Anton and Russian Adam played with that tobacco note in a fragrance called Manly, which I did a first impression on my channel. And you're going to smell the most amazing patchouli, this amazing hay-like tobacco, dark, resinous, almost touches of oud without there being oud. So you get this breakdown of natural ingredients that makes it very special. On the other side of the coin, it's not a composition that's ultra complex. It doesn't have all these transitions and change. I mean, basically you get this dark, sophisticated patchouli, like he said, and touches of tobacco and a little bit of amber and, you know, some oak moss, let's say, in the base, and I think some sort of woodiness, maybe some cedar. I don't know where that woodiness is coming from. But it doesn't, you know, do much else. You do get that, I mentioned amber. It's probably heavy on the labdanum, which is another ingredient that I mentioned I would wear as a composition in and of itself, and labdanum was one of the ingredients we talked about. You know, it's one of the ingredients we talked about on that ingredient video. Just go to my channel, click on playlist, find Areej le Doré, and you'll find there's a couple of them. I did one on my own, and then I did one with Russian Adam on the 50 ingredient video. But so it's not a composition where you're going to get like all these transitions. It's not, you know, a composition where you get this, the first hour smells like this, the second hour smells like this, the fifth hour smells like this. It's pretty linear in a sense. But I don't use that term in a bad way, because I really enjoy the smell of this. And I really enjoy the fact that he created something that smells to me, you know, I have the natural ingredient right here. I have the actual patchouli that's in this composition. And he did a fantastic job of highlighting this without overshadowing it, without blocking out its beauty. You know what I mean? So even though it seems like a simple composition, it very well may have been meant to be a simple composition, if you see what I'm saying. It may well have been, you know, it may well have been done on purpose that way. And, you know, if you are a patchouli lover and you want to smell a composition that uses this highly aged patchouli in a very competent, and you want to smell a ingredient that is unique to what you're used to smelling, I can highly recommend Roxberry. Now, $250 for 53 ml. I'm a little torn on. Would I love to have a bottle of this? Yes. Would I buy a bottle? I don't know yet. Maybe, maybe not. I'm torn. But I can already tell you that my guess is this will probably be my favorite from his creations, although I don't know. I haven't smelled the other two yet, but I really like this as far as the composition goes. I really hate these little sample sprayers, but I really like the juice inside. And for a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, however old he is, to have someone like Russian Adam to lean on, to have someone like Russian Adam to give pointers to help here and there, you know, to do this or do that with his brand that's up and coming. I think he has a very bright future. You can buy his fragrances directly from that atonperfumes.com, or you can go to like Sealed Essences or one of those websites. I think they sell Aton Perfumes. But if you're in the market for a patchouli, I mean, you know, you're going to spend about the same on something like Psychedelique as you are with this Roxbury. This is definitely much more unique. You get double the juice with Psychedelique. So it's, you know, it's kind of one or the other. If you want more standard chocolatey patchouli, I'd probably recommend going with Psychedelique or something like that. If you want to smell a different take on patchouli based on how it was aged, how it was changed, you know, what the aging process did to the smell, because it definitely changed the smell of the patchouli over the years. Like I said, that leathery, dark fruit, almost oud accord, if you will, even though there's no oud in this. And if you've kind of already gone down the patchouli route and you have lots of patchoulis and you think you've discovered all there is to know about patchouli, this will show you something completely different. This Roxberry will show you something completely different. And so I would highly recommend getting your nose on it. There's a reason I started with it. This is the one I was most excited to smell from the brand. And he did send me these little samples. You know, I didn't pay for these. He sent these to me, but it doesn't change my opinion on the fragrance at all. This is my honest and truthful opinion on how I feel on it. And I'm excited to see where this young man's career goes in the future, because I think he has a bright future ahead of him, for sure. He's got lots of advantages right now that many normal people, you know, that don't have a stepbrother named Russian Adam, you know, they don't have the advantages that he has. I hope he can get his fragrances into a sample like this, so it doesn't leak all over the people who try his fragrances. And you know, I wish him all the best. Maybe I'll end up buying a bottle of this. Maybe I won't. But either way, I'm very, very blessed and lucky to get to even smell it, because it is a very special composition. There's no doubt about it. The patchouli in here is special and unique and off the beaten path. It's not the kind of patchouli you'll smell in Versace, Dior, you know, Chanel fragrances. It's different from Coromandel and stuff like that. So anyways, let me know your thoughts. I know this is a new brand, so I'm guessing a lot of people haven't had a chance to try Aton Perfumes yet, but I wanted to get this review out there so people have something to at least go on, so they know the backstory. And it is an amazing backstory with the patchouli and being stored, and that it's Russian Adam's favorite patchouli and all this stuff, and he gifted it to his stepbrother Anton, and he used it in his perfume, and it's an amazing story. And, you know, they just have to kind of get some of the details right. Like when I was looking through the website, I noticed he had a spelling error here, and I sent him an Instagram message and said, hey man, you got a spelling error here. And he said, thanks, we'll fix it. But it's just, I think getting some of those details right, you know, making sure there are no sloppy mistakes like spelling errors, making sure there are no, because, you know, when there's a mistake like that, it makes the brand seem a little bit minor league. You know, it doesn't seem like they're ready to compete with the big boys, and they are. They're competing with the big boys. Where the hell did I put it? Roxberry, as far as a composition goes, this can compete with all of the patchouli fragrances I just mentioned, and these are some of my favorites. And so from a juice standpoint, this can definitely compete head to head. It's just a matter of getting some of those little details right. You don't want to have somebody go to the website, get all ready to buy, and then they decide not to because of a silly spelling error or because of, you know, the fact that the sample that they got, they loved the juice, but it leaked everywhere, so they decided they don't want to spend the money on a bottle, because what if the bottle leaks, you know? And Russian Adam mentioned many times he had some issues with some of his fragrances, and anytime there was a problem, they made it right. You know, if there was a sprayer that got blocked, they sent new sprayers. If there was, you know, that kind of customer service is going to happen to build trust in the brand, especially when you're first up and coming, when you're new. You know, there are going to be issues that arise, and you're going to have to react, and you're going to have to make people trust the brand. And so if I was advising this young man, I would say make sure the details are perfect, change these sample sprayers, and I think you've got an amazing product on your hand. I honestly wish you all the best, Aton. Thank you for sending these to me, my friend. And I hope to see you guys again very soon with another video. Let me know in the comments what you think. Likes, subscriptions, all that stuff is very much appreciated. Obviously, you don't have to, but it does help the channel. We're picking up some traction. I'm starting to get some comments from folks like, you know, like normal people, not like super frag heads. So people are finding my channel. I think it's a good thing to kind of expand into more and more people, whether they're someone that has 1,000 bottle collection or 2 bottles in their collection, you know, getting comments and feedback and all that stuff really means a lot to me. So short video today, only half an hour instead of an hour. But tomorrow we may have a longer one. So cheers, guys. I'll see you again tomorrow with another video. Bye now.